Welcome to CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Mabra. This is your one-stop shop to learn the business side of your practice on a deeper level. On this show, we empower you to own your CEO status to scale your practice for growth, sustainability, and profit. Listen in as we talk about how to market your practice to gain more visibility, hire, build, and engage your ride or die dream team, create streamlined operations, and make financial decisions as a CEO. It's time to show up as a confident leader to create a practice and life you love. Let's get started. Hello. Welcome to another episode of CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. It's Brandy, and we are still in process of getting you ready to wrap up the year going into 2024. And I want to start off today's conversation with asking you a question. Are you prepared for the practice you want? One of the things that I know to be true is that anytime we're going towards times like this, it's always a time of reflection, right? And you're thinking about maybe this time last year. We just came off a amazing time with our clients in Atlanta for our Reignite, the private practice CEO brunch experience. And so during that time, we spent thinking about what went well in 2023 and what do they want for 2024. And so over the past few episodes, we've been asking that question a lot. Like, what do you want? When you think about the practice, what do you want? When you think about this time next year, and maybe you're sitting here or doing whatever you're doing, whether if it's working in the practice, whether if it's on your way to the practice, whether if it's just hanging out or whatever you're doing while you're listening to this podcast, when you close your eyes, where do you want to be at this time next year? And you have to get really, really clear on that. And I want you to think about it from a different perspective. I want you to think about it from a lifestyle perspective, from a schedule perspective, from a money perspective, from a team perspective, from maybe even the car you're driving perspective or the house you're living in perspective, like all those things. Truly, when you think about this time next year, what do you want? And are you prepared for it? I believe in what I know to be true and what has been shown to me time and time and time and time again is that God is waiting to give you exactly what you ask for. Right. And of course, everything is according to his plan, calling on your life and the vision that he has for you. But when you fully step into the vision, when you fully think about your desires, God is waiting for you to ask, right? God is waiting for you to take the big step of faith. God is waiting for you to say, this is what I want. This is what I believe that you've put on my heart to want. Whether if it is helping more people, if it's making a certain amount of money, if it's living a certain lifestyle, if it's writing a book, if it's speaking on stages, if it's, I'm trying to think of some of the things that I have goals for myself and even goals for the clients that we work with. What is that for you? Right. And then part of our job is to fully step into it with faith, knowing that it's ours, knowing that it's going to come to pass. And it might not happen when we want it to happen, or it might not happen according to what we think how it should happen, right? That how is always the variable, but it's there for a reason. It is there for a reason. What you want is there for a reason. One of the things that I do in my office as I'm sitting here recording this is I keep my vision in front of me. I have it where I look at it every single day. I have my goals in front of me, and if there's anything pressing that I want, then I leave it throughout my house. So for example, I have little notes of 30-day goals that I have on the mirror in my bathroom. I have it on my coffee maker because I make coffee every morning. I have it readily available. There's a picture of my significant other on my bedside table, and on that frame are any 30-day goals that I have, right? And so part of what I do is I always try to make sure that I am financially set up for success. I'm emotionally set up for success. I am physically set up for success. I am mentally set up for success. And I am holistically doing what I need to do. Now, this is not about perfection. There are tons of times where I'm always in need of refinement. However, my goal is always to show up my best self, right? And so for those of you who know me or have seen things I've posted in Instagram or on my stories, one of the things is the devotionals that I read every day, or trying to make sure that I'm in my Bible every day. And that's part of my mental piece. That's part of my emotional piece. That's part of me stepping up into me being the best version of myself. Right. And so one of the things that I look at every day is what is that best version? To put this in a different way, what would X do? And for you, your job is to fill in that X piece, whether if it's a certain amount of money you want to make. So since we talk about $1 million practices here, what would seven figure you do? What would the CEO of a big company do? What if that's what your vision is? What would the healthier version of you do, right? And making decisions from that place. And so when you think about the question again, are you prepared for the practice you want? We can take that into a number of different ways. We could take it as, are you prepared for the life you want? Are you prepared for the money you want? Are you prepared for the relationship that you want? Are you prepared for maybe the big project that you're waiting for? Like, are you prepared for that? Are you fully stepping into it like it's already happened, like it's already yours? Or if it were to show up today, if God gave it to you today and said, "Here, it's yours. Take it." Would you know what to do with it? Would you be prepared for it? And so I love this question. It's something that I'm continuously asking myself. It's something that I talk about on the workshop that I host every single month, $1 million practice. It's something that I talk frequently with our clients about, like, are you prepared for that? Because there's a lot of information in that question. And it's more than just a yes or no. If you are saying, no, no, I'm not prepared for what I want. No, I'm not prepared to make the amount of money I want. No, I'm not prepared to work the schedule that I want. No, I'm not prepared to have the practice that I envision. No, I'm not prepared to maybe write the book, or I'm not prepared to speak on the stage, or I'm not prepared if this feature were to come out. Then the question is, what do you need to do to be prepared, right? And some of it, it's very simple. It doesn't even require like this extensive strategy. Some of it is maybe just taking one step to get you closer, right? So one of the aspirations that I love, and I've talked about this, and or that I have for myself, is I want to get a book deal in 2024. It's something that I've talked about in my Instagram stories. It's something that I am actively working towards. At this point in time, I've had conversations with an agent, and so working on book proposal, like all of that, because I want that for myself. I could always do self-publishing. I think self-publishing is very powerful, but the vision that I have for myself is a book deal. I want a book deal. I want someone to pay me in advance for the work that I'm getting ready to do, compared to writing the book and having to do all those things after the fact. And that's just something that's on my heart, right? And so it doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that it's wrong, it doesn't mean that it's the only way to do anything, but it's there. And even as I'm going through and doing my review for 2023, one of the things that I've noticed is I have been taking notes for a book for years. There's like little pockets of information, whether if it's been written down or a story that I think I want to share, or there's notes in my phone, there's notes in my computer, there's a folder on my desk that's like book ideas, like all these things. And so I've been preparing for this moment. So when I got on the phone with the agent, it was, it was nerve-wracking a bit, but at the same time I was prepared for it because there was a lot of ideas and a lot of different things that I've kind of fleshed out over the years to prepare for the moment. And so you just never know when God's going to bless you with what you've been asking for, and when you're going to be able to step into that full vision. So your job is to prepare for it. Prepare for it like it's already yours, right? And so that's why I love business planning. I've said this before. That's why I love business planning, because when you're doing business planning, you're actually stepping into the plans that you believe are going to happen. You're actually having faith that everything is going to manifest its way into your life. And that can be very, very powerful, very powerful. So, just to stick with this theme, when you're thinking about, are you prepared for the practice you want? What comes up for you? What comes up for you? We're going to go through 3 things that you can do to prepare for the practice that you want. And I want you to think past these even 3 ideas. I want you to think deeper as we're talking about things and as we're doing this discussion. So, the 3 ways for you to do this is number 1, delegate tasks you hate whenever possible. And that sounds like, okay, Brandy, like what is that? What does that mean? How is that going to get me to what I'm prepared for? Maybe I don't even want to hire a team. Maybe I'm tired of hiring. Maybe, whatever these feelings that might be coming up for you when you're thinking about, like, oh, being prepared for what you're asking for or being prepared for the practice that you want. The number 1 way is to delegate tasks that you hate whenever possible. Here's why. Your time is valuable. Your time is so valuable. And so if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to choose to believe that you have big goals, aspirations, big dreams. And I know even the clients that I end up working with, they are phenomenal, right? And so some of them are the only specialty in their area, the only one, you know, one of 2 maybe. And that's really powerful. Some of them are 7 figures plus, have really knocked it out of the park when it comes to their specialty. One of our clients today just got featured in a really big publication. One of them has a huge publication that's getting ready to drop next week. Like our clients are always doing really, really big things. And so I'm going to assume, whether you work with me or not, if you're listening to this, you have really big goals and dreams. So the reason why number 1 is to delegate tasks you hate whenever possible is because you want to put yourself in a place to have time. And even going back to Reignite, the weekend that we had, or the planning session that we ended up doing with our clients, I loved it. I loved it because there was, I want to write a book. I want to start a podcast. I want to start a new company. Even with the penthouse that we were in, one of our clients was like, I'm going to buy one of these, and she can. She absolutely can. And so it's really interesting when you start to put yourself in a place just to stop and to think, like, what do I want? What do I need? But if you are drowning in work, if you are in a place where you have no free days, no free time, you're always in the weeds of your practice, you're always running around like a chicken with your head cut off, you're not happy, you don't have the team that you need to support you, it gets really hard to think ambitiously, right? It gets really hard to think out in the future. It gets really hard for you to step into something bigger because you're tired. And you can't have the energy that you need when you're tired. You can't. You just want to take a nap. I mean, who the heck wants to write a book proposal when you need to take a nap, or to pitch yourself for, bigger things when you want to take a nap? Rest is important. You need rest. That's the other part of this. But you have to delegate things too and get things off of your plate, whether if it's at home or if it's in the practice. And I could probably do a better job of even talking more about this. But when it comes to your team, you have team at home. You should have team at home and then team in the practice, because sometimes you're not in a place to hire in the practice, right? So my suggestion is to go home and think about, is there anything I can get off my plate at home? Anything. For me, I have 2 older kids. So I love it. I am, I have an 18-year-old who I started to teach how to cook. It is the second, 14, 15. Oh, hey, oh, goodness gracious, you are coming to me talking about, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Well, let me teach you how to feed yourself. Let me teach you how to cook for yourself. Let me teach you how to be self-sufficient for 2 reasons. You need to learn. But the flip side of that was because I was tired of cooking. I'll be honest, like I needed to delegate that. And so there's different opportunities that you have around to get things off of your plate. What is that for you? What is that for you? Number 2, plan your days, weeks, and months to save you energy and time. I love planning, and I am one where I've had to learn to love planning because I have an operations director, and she is very strategic, very structured, very, this is what we need to do. And for me, I have a tendency as an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, hey, what about this idea? Let's do this, let's do that. I have a lot of what's called level 5 energy where I'm always thinking about the opportunity. What's the opportunity? What can we do? How can we fix this? What's the solution? Which is good. But the other side to that is sometimes I can be all over the place, right? And so for me, I like planning because it forces me to sit down and really step into what do we need to have happen in the company to set everyone up for success, right? So the same thing at home. What do we need inside of the company or at home, I should say, to make sure everyone is set up for success. So I love meeting planners. I like scheduling tasks. I know for the practices that I've been part of, a lot of my burnout was lack of structure. A lot of it, most of it was lack of structure, not leveraging my team, not having enough structure, not having enough clarity for what needed to be done, not allowing myself to have the clarity so I could direct people on where they needed to go. I was always all over the place compared to just sitting down and saying, this is what needs to happen. This is what my vision is, and giving myself time and space to have that. And so you need that as a CEO. The planning sessions that we do, because we do quarterly planning sessions virtually with our clients inside a private practice CEO. And with that, a lot of it is just allowing for them to get clarity for themselves. So that way they can know, like, okay, what do we need to do for marketing? What do we need to do for me, as a person? What do we need to do for money and the financial piece? What do we need to do for the team? What does the team need? So that way, when they're meeting with their teams and they're actually having these conversations or they're going into planning sessions, additional planning sessions with their teams, they have that clarity. You have to give yourself time and space to do that on a weekly basis and even daily, So you have to know, how are you showing up? How are you feeling? What's going on? And it can be very challenging and taxing just to kind of dive into things. And so, one of the things that I've learned about myself, even with how my weeks are being set up, I need to ease into my week. I need to really step into things. I don't do well when I just rush into stuff. Right. And so, one of the things I used to have was like our team meeting would be on Monday, CEO time. My CEO time has always been on Monday. However, I needed to just have focus time, thinking time, strategy time for me to fully step into what needs to happen for me to actually go into the week with a plan. And so for me, that's Mondays. So Mondays are kind of quiet. Mondays are my time to ease into the week for me to actually think what needs to happen, for me to have time to visualize, for me to have time to set the vision, right? So that way, when I'm meeting with my team later in the week, I'm not showing up all over the place. So, what do you need? What do you need? There's tools and things too that you can definitely use to help with some of these things. I'm not going to really dive into that today, but there's, from an operations standpoint, there are tools, and so I do plan on doing a whole episode, especially with some of the things we were talking about this, even at Reignite, like just AI and different tools that you can definitely take advantage of when it comes to productivity and helping you with your not take so long when it comes to like documentation, like all these things. There were so many powerful gems that were dropped in that room, and so some of it I'll talk about, just different tools and things too that you can use to help with those things. But really, it just starts with simple. Like if you don't even take the time to think that you need a tool, then you're not going to take the time to find the tool or to use the tool or to learn how to use the tool. And then you're just going to show up on this hamster wheel. So that's number 2. Number 3 is pay attention to what you're telling yourself, right? And so again, that goes back to, for me, Mondays. I need to stop and think, like, what am I telling myself? We are always telling ourselves stories about something. Part of what we've talked about here on the podcast, if we've talked about stories for money, like what are you telling yourself about your money? Are you telling yourself that you have more than enough? Are you telling yourself, if I use this last whatever, then there will be no more? Like, what are you telling yourself? The other thing is what are you telling yourself about your practice? Truly, when you think about it, what are you telling yourself about your practice? Are you telling yourself like my practice sucks and my team sucks and it's awful and I hate it here, and then that's your day. That is your day. And you will literally look for all the awful, terrible things about your practice compared to if you are telling yourself, oh, my practice has so much potential. We're in a season right now, whether if it's a hard season, we're in a season right now, but things are on the up and up or moving to be on the up and up, where my practice is amazing. It's wonderful. It's definitely making an impact, right? It's growing, it's changing, because if you are growing a practice and scaling a practice, it's going to be evolving. But what are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself? What's the story that you're telling yourself about what you have going on? So, those are the three things. Number one, delegate tasks you hate whenever possible. So that way you can have more free time to step into that vision you have so you can prepare for what you want, or what whatever you want in the practice or what you want from life. Number two, plan your days, weeks, and months to save you energy and time. Number three, pay attention to what you're telling yourself, whether if it's about your money or about your practice or about your life, or really, really pay attention to it. Stop and think about it. And is there a way for you to reframe it, especially if it's negative? Your words have power. I know I don't need to tell you that. I know you know that, but they do. They have power. So the reminder here is that God will bless you when you're open and ready to receive more. He will always bless you when you're open and ready to receive more. There is a process. And I was in church, this was a couple weeks back. And one of the things that I love is that when it comes to adversity, God will put you through adversity. There's going to be trials, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be certain things that just don't work and you don't understand. But one thing that God will always do is that he'll use the adversity as the adjuster, right? In order to put you exactly where you're meant to be. In any kind of adversity that you're facing, always has to go through God first, right? And so he has to say yes or no according to what his plan is for you on whether or not you're going to go through this adversity. So if you're going through it, know it's has a reason for it. And I don't mean to make that sound really simple, but it's there to adjust you. I know for me, especially as I think about 2023, there were a lot of things, and I've talked about this. There were a lot of things that I was stretched to do this year when it came to me personally, when it came to the business, when it came to the vision that I have. And God has provided every single thing that I've needed through the adversity, because it had to go through him first in order for me to go through it. And then it's a cycle. So that adversity is there adjusting you. And then for it to be placed in a place of favor, it has to go back through God in order for him to bless it. So when you think about your life, when you think about your practice, when you think about your team, when you think about your journey, what does that look like for you? And again, are you ready to receive? Are you ready to receive? So as we step into 2024, ready and open and willing, I want you to fully, fully, fully think about, get very, very clear on the vision. Very clear on the vision. So, some of the exercises that we did for the planning and some of what we've talked about is we celebrated the wins. So, as you're sitting down and thinking to yourself and reflecting on 2023, what were some of the wins that you had? It was interesting because it's really easy. It's so easy just to say everything that's gone wrong and nothing's gone right and everything's just awful. But there's some wins. I know there's some wins. What went right? What were some things that maybe you started at the beginning of the year that you were consistent with? What are some things that maybe you didn't think were going to happen that happened? What were some goals that you set that you actually achieved? What are your wins? What are your wins? The second question is celebration. So, when one of our clients reached out this morning talking about this really big thing that she has coming up, my number one question was like, what are you going to do to celebrate? And I know for me, I'll be honest, I'll be so honest. It's so easy. It's so easy for me to be like, oh, you need to celebrate. Oh, you need to celebrate. But I'm thankful because I have great entrepreneurial friends and colleagues who are right there to remind me, and my team does a really great job of reminding me of this as well. But to stop and celebrate, stop for a minute And even with us getting through 2023, we're still here. We're still standing. Your practice is still here. Your practice is still standing, regardless of what it looked like, regardless of financial, or regardless of if people stayed or quit, or regardless of what that journey looked like. You're still here. You're still standing. You're still strong. There's a movie called Antoine Fisher with Denzel Washington, and that's one of my favorite lines is he's confronting he was adopted, and there was terrible things that happened to him, and so he was confronting one of one of the people that were part of the was part of the adoption, and was in the family. And there was, again, I'm not going to go into this whole movie, but what I loved about it was his stance was, I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm still here, I'm still strong, and they essentially didn't break him, right? So your practice hasn't broke you. You're still here, you're still listening. So in that of itself, celebrate that. How can you celebrate that? It could be something simple, it could be something grand, but just definitely stopping and celebrating the fact that you made it through, right? And that was literally, one of our clients wrote that down. I made it through. Like, I made it through. She got through the year. So a lot of our folks have celebrated anniversaries. Some of our clients are getting ready to celebrate really big anniversaries next year and planning events around that. And so truly stepping into the vision that you have for yourself, is part of it is celebrating the vision that you're already part of. Definitely recognizing we're not promised tomorrow. We're not really even promised the next hour. We're not promised the next second. So stopping and celebrating, and stopping and reminding yourself of the amazing work that you've done and the amazing gift that you have to make an impact every day is important. So how are you celebrating? All right. So that is today's conversation. The question again, are you prepared for what you're asking for, or are you prepared for the practice you want? You can interpret this any kind of way you want to, but the goal is for you to stop and reflect and really think about, what do you want? What are you moving into in order to set yourself up for 2024? So these are just short little bite-sized episodes to help, and then we'll start to dive in more into some of the more business strategy things going into 2024. But I really just want you to take some time, because I know everyone I work with, and probably if you're listening to this, you're ambitious, you're busy, and this is a time for you to rest, right? To really set in and set the tone for what's getting ready to come. So we'll talk about some more tangible things in order to help get your practice ready when it comes to just processes and systems, that just to make sure that those things are happening in your practice. But we'll do all that going into the new year. But for now, I just want you to sit back and just kind of relax and enjoy the season, for whatever that looks like for you, and enjoy. So, of course, if you need any help, or if you need additional support, then I am here for you. Always in the show notes is the way for you to ask questions. So you can always email us, or you can go ahead and apply to work with me. So right now we are gearing up for our January cohort for Private Practice CEO. I am so excited because we are definitely incorporating our Reignite experiences, our mini retreat experiences throughout the year that our clients will be getting access to. And so that's really great. And so at this point in time, at this recording, if you're listening to this, you can apply as of now to get ready for January at our current 2023 rates, but it will be changing in 2024. And so you definitely want to make sure that you are on board for 2023. If you are knowing, I need support, I need help going into 2024, then I would love for you to go ahead and apply. So I work with six-figure, multi-six-figure, seven-figure plus practice owners, and it's very tangible when it comes to teams, operations, money, making sure that you are definitely owning your CEO status. So if you have questions, I am here for you. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and it empowers you as the CEO of your practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, share the message, and leave a review. If you want more information and support in growing and scaling your practice, click the link in the show notes to take advantage of our free resources or apply to work with me directly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.